Today is April 2nd, 2020. Dean and I are here in New Zealand and we're sheltering in place from the global COVID-19 pandemic. I'm Dr. Mitch Kennedy with HealWithNature.com, and this is our first segment on how to support your immune system. Today we're going to talk about food. Food is a necessity. It is one of the most important things you can do to support yourself during this time, and we really want to get into some specific foods that will help your immune system be stronger. So the first thing is onions. Onions and other things like onions, so scallions, garlic, chives, leeks, things like that. And what these things have is two things. One, they have something called a mannose-binding lectin, and it is a way that this substance in the onion can attach onto mannose lectins that are found on various viruses and bacteria. And by binding those, it inactivates them. So that's pretty cool. The second thing it has is a sulfhydryl group. It's basically sulfur. And sulfur has been used by doctors for antibiotics for a long time. And there's a lot of studies on using garlic in various viral and bacterial situations. So those two things make garlic, onions, leeks, and all the other allium species great for your immune system. The second thing, or second group of foods that are great to support immune system function is mushrooms. And mushrooms come in a lot of different species. You've got your regular button mushrooms, you've got your shiitake, maitake, your reishi, your lion's mane, you've got portobellos, which is my personal favorite. And the science behind mushrooms is deep. We could spend all day talking about it, but we're not going to. Basically, there's a couple big functions that polysaccharides and other chemical structures in mushrooms help you with. First is that they boost natural killer cell activity. They also change the profile of cytokines you have in your body so that they're more geared towards fighting off invaders like viruses and bacteria. And then it also improves T cell function and gut flora balance. So lots of good things with mushrooms. You can saute them. You can do drinks, mushroom drinks, and you can also do tinctures, which are alcohol extracts of mushrooms. But one of the best ways, and it shows up a lot in these studies, is to actually make soup. They call it a hot water extract, but it's nothing more than putting your mushrooms into hot water with veggies and stuff. Okay, number 3 in our list of great foods to help you support your immune system is fermented foods. Now, there's a wide range of these, and almost every culture on earth has a fermented food, which says something about the cultural heritage and the knowledge that's inherent in the culture of how to stay healthy. So, for example, Polish people and German people, their heritage is in sauerkraut, right? Then you've got things like kimchi in Korea, and you've got miso over in Japan. It's just anywhere you look, there's a fermented food from a culture anywhere on the globe. So it's very cool. And the research behind this, or the science why this is beneficial, is that it, and this is actually a study from Poland about sauerkraut. So as part of my heritage, I'm pretty proud of that. And it raises glutathione and NAD, which are two substances that are used by the liver and the kidneys in detoxification of chemicals, detoxification of byproducts of being ill. Basically, everything goes through your liver and kidneys. So if you're not healthy, or if you're exposed to something, it gets into your blood, goes around, comes through the kidneys and livers, they handle it, and then eventually it leaves your body. And now we're on to number 4. Yogurt and probiotics. Wow, this is a huge segment also. And again, culturally, you can find stuff like this, fermented milk products everywhere. So why is it good for you? Well, it's got good bacteria, and it's got things that the good bacteria create that are also beneficial for both your immune system and your intestinal tract. If you didn't know, you've got about 1 trillion different little organisms in your gut, and it's called the intestinal biota. They create all kinds of good substances and chemicals that help the immune system. They're also one of the first lines of defense for something that comes into that area of your digestion and may not be right. It might be a little off piece of meat or something. So supporting them and keeping them diverse is really important. So you can do this a couple ways. You can obviously do it with yogurt. Now, if you're going to do it with yogurt, you want a no sugar yogurt because the sugar is not good for you, as we're going to talk about a little later. I personally like vanilla flavored yogurt, and if it's not tasty enough for you, you could probably add some fresh fruit to it. But stick with as low sugar content as you can. Look at the package. The second thing you want to look for is a diverse range of the different bacteria. So the not so good ones probably only have one bacteria strain, maybe two. The more natural ones probably have like 5, 5, 6, 7 maybe. So that's pretty cool. That's a good number. And then, if you really want to go like to the other end of the spectrum and get as much diversity as possible, you're probably going to want to take a probiotic supplement. So what is this? This is a little capsule with live bacteria in it, and it's been preserved so that they don't die in transit. And the way that this is handled is really, really important. And you could pay a lot of money for something, and it could be not worth anything if it doesn't have this kind of criteria around it. It's got to be in a glass bottle, preferably a dark glass bottle. It should be in the refrigerated section of the, we'll say, health food store, because I rarely see them anywhere else. And it should be sealed, meaning that no air can get in. And then the last thing you want to look at is the date, because there's going to be a date on it that says it's not good after. So if you've got plenty of time on the date, it's sealed, it's refrigerated, it's in a glass bottle, you can be pretty sure that you're going to get a lot of good, viable strains of bacteria. How many? You could get up to 15 different strains. So that's a lot compared to just regular yogurt. So that's one option. The other option is you can also make your own yogurt. One thing I forgot to say, some people are sensitive to dairy, in which case you shouldn't take yogurt. And if you're sick, you may not want to take yogurt either, because in some people, dairy products create more mucus, and it can make it harder for the lungs. Get more postnasal drip, get more congestion in the lungs. You wouldn't want that. And the other thing, in that case, you can just take the pills, the probiotic pills. Okay? Number 5 on our list of foods that are helpful to your immune system is fruit. Why? Well, studies on all kinds of fruits have shown that they increase beneficial types of cytokines that reduce inflammation, especially in the respiratory tract, of all things. So that's really handy in the case of viruses and the flu and bacterial infections. So what else are we talking about? Well, we're talking about proanthocyanidins, which are potent antioxidants. We're talking about vitamin C, which has a whole litany of research behind it as it being beneficial to supporting the immune system. And also carotenoids, which are a type of vitamin A. So get your fruits. What kind of fruits? Well, you want your dark fruits. You want your plums, your cherries, your blueberries, your boysenberries, your raspberries, your mulberries, elderberries. So you got at least 7 really dark fruits you can pick up. Plums too. So we just talked about the 5 most important foods you can use to support your immune system. Now we're going to talk about the foods that you should avoid because they'll work against you. The most important thing to avoid is sugar. And this is all kinds of sugars. So your refined sugars, your sweet foods, your candies, and all the different ways it sneaks in, brownies, all sorts of stuff. And the reason is sugar, when it enters your bloodstream, dampens your immune response. And this dampening or down-regulating of the white blood cells can last minutes, depending on the amount, all the way up to hours. And so during that period, you're basically standing there without any real immune surveillance, if you will. So just to give it a name. And you don't want that, because you could be out visiting people or doing something where someone's coughing at you, and you suddenly, your immune system isn't working as well as it could be. It's exactly what we don't want. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, checking my notes, alcohol. I know some of you are going to be upset about that, but alcohol has a similar effect on the body, although in this case it's actually focusing on downregulating the ability of the liver. And your liver is processing all these things that are going on with the immune system, because what happens is a white blood cell comes in and attacks a virus, particle, or bacterial organism and destroys it. But then it creates sort of this rubbish, if you will, and that's got to be cleaned out of the body. So that goes through the kidneys and the liver. Well, what does alcohol go through? It goes through the same process. So if you're busy working on alcohol all the time, then your liver doesn't have the resources to work on all the rubbish that's coming from the parts of the viruses and bacteria that are getting eaten. So no alcohol. Sorry. Plus, the other thing to remember is that a lot of alcohol is either based on sugar or has a lot of sugar in it. So your Kahluas and other fancy drink mixes, lots of sugar. So, sorry. The next thing is you don't want any junk food. Now, junk food, we're talking about things with artificial sweeteners, artificial colors, preservatives, all sorts of strange colors and additives. All that stuff is just like extra stuff your body has to process. And it's got to go somewhere, and guess where it goes? Yep, it goes right through your liver, right through your kidneys, because it's going to pass through your intestinal system into the blood and come all the way around and have to be filtered. And that's a lot of effort. And like I said, this is not the time to make your body do any extra work. You want to have all your resources available to you so your body can respond the way it's meant to, which is to heal. So there's that. The last thing, which isn't really a food, but it is something that people go for when they're under stress, is tobacco. And you probably knew this already, but when you're smoking, you're inhaling hot gas that's got all sorts of chemicals in it. It's irritating all the lining of your nose, your throat, all the way down into your bronchi and your lungs. And that's inflammation. And that's exactly not what you want when you're dealing with respiratory illnesses and infections. So tough to quit sometimes. A lot of different ways you could do it, but I highly recommend it. Very, very valuable. Okay, to wrap up, try to eat these things, the 5 foods that we talked about, as often as possible. Every day would be great. Maybe you can't, but give it a try. And the other thing, if you want to be a real radical, is you can grow your own. All these things are fairly easy to grow. We had a mulberry bush at our house, and in a very short time it grew to be like 15 feet high. All the children in the neighborhood loved it. We loved it. All the birds loved it. We still had plenty of berries, and they taste so good. Mulberries are great. Blueberries are easy to grow. There's a lot of things you can do yourself and grow your own. The other thing I want to mention is that down below are show notes, and everything I've talked about, each food and all the things it does, are annotated in footnotes on the show notes with scientific journals from where they came from. So I'm not just pulling something out of my head here and making anything up. This is all based in peer-reviewed journals. So it's there. It's there for the taking. Thanks. Be healthy.